Today's episode is dedicated to teaching you how to handle unwanted comments with grace, dignity, and a dash of wit. We'll discuss why people feel entitled to comment on your body and equip you with strategies to nip such behavior in the bud, all while maintaining your own sense of self-respect. And you bet we'll be throwing in some solid research along the way because facts and science are our allies when it comes to debunking myths and assumptions. If you've ever felt like a helpless gazelle in the Sahara of unsolicited body advice, this episode is for you. Because, let's face it, folks, life is too short to spend another minute allowing other people's comments to derail your confidence or dictate how you should feel about yourself. All right, time to dive into how you can say when to unwanted advice and start living the life you've always dreamed of. Welcome to Say When. I'm your host, Holly Toscanini. This podcast is for any woman who's had enough of restrictive diets, feeling bad about their bodies, or putting their lives on hold until they lose the weight. If you've had enough of diet culture, then it's time to say when. Hello, my beautiful listeners. Welcome back to another episode of Say When. I'm Holly Toscanini, your trusted non-diet life and health coach. Now, raise your hand if you've ever been victim to an unsolicited comment about your weight or appearance. Yes, I can see a virtual sea of hands waving. It's unfortunate, isn't it? In a world where the measuring tape and scales seem to carry more weight, no pun intended, than our characters, it's hard not to feel the judgment reverberating off of those unsolicited comments. Whether it's the offhand remark from an aunt who swears by a new fad diet or the stranger at the gym who thinks it's their civic duty to offer advice, it seems like everyone has an opinion about how we should look or what we should eat. It's like walking through a minefield of body policing, and let me tell you, friends, those minds are packed with dynamite. Boom, there goes your self-esteem. Boom, there goes your appetite for that delicious slice of cake. So, a few years ago, one of my clients was at a family gathering, happily savoring a second helping of her mom's amazing lasagna. You know, the comfort food that can only be made with an extra sprinkle of motherly love. When, out of nowhere, a distant cousin, who she'd seen maybe twice in her lifetime, chimes in, "A second helping, huh? That's brave." Yeah, brave. As if eating was the same as facing a lion in a gladiatorial arena. I mean, come on. The only brave thing that happened is that my client didn't smother her cousin with the lasagna. So let's start with the social rules and standards that seem to greenlight these unsolicited comments about our bodies. See, we live in a society that is unfortunately still entrenched in diet culture and the patriarchal lens that objectifies women's bodies. The cultural narrative often puts a premium on thinness as a measure of worth, morality, and health. The result? A social license for everyone from your Aunt Karen to the guy at the grocery store to feel entitled to comment on your body. In many ways, it's an echo chamber of traditional and social media creating unrealistic body standards that seep into our collective subconscious. And once these ideas become ingrained, they become a social script of sort, a playbook that people draw from when interacting with others, often without even questioning its validity. Now, it's essential to note that not all these comments come from a malicious place. Some folks genuinely believe they're being helpful. The road to hell paved with good intentions, am I right? These people might think they're doing a public service by sharing the latest diet trend they read about on a blog or voicing concern over your health. But let's be honest, most of the time their advice is about as welcome as a skunk at a garden party. Let's talk turkey here. The emotional impact of these comments can be deeply wounding. It's not just an offhand remark to many of us. It's a seismic event that shakes the foundation of our self-esteem and body image. And for women who've spent years, if not decades, internalizing messages that their worth is tied to their weight or appearance, these comments can be triggers that spiral into negative self-talk, disordered eating, or anxiety. We're talking about real emotional and psychological repercussions here. Now, I promise you some science, so let's sprinkle a little scholarly pixie dust here. Research has shown that unsolicited advice, especially about one's body, can lead to increased stress levels and decreased psychological well-being. One study published in the Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology found that women who internalized weight bias were more likely to experience depression, poor body image, and lower overall self-esteem. It's clear. The psychological toll is not just anecdotal, it's empirically backed. So the next time someone offers unsolicited advice, remember, it's not just you who's feeling the impact. There's a whole cadre of research that says, yes, this is harmful, and your feelings are not only valid, but also corroborated by evidence. Understanding why people give solicited advice helps us navigate these social landmines more effectively. So, armed with this awareness, we can respond in ways that don't compromise our dignity or self-worth. Stay tuned, because we're about to get into some of the arsenal of tools that you need to say when to those body comments. So, let's get down to brass tacks. The first strategy is encapsulated in the very title of this podcast, Say When. This phrase is a beautiful, concise boundary setter. You're essentially telling the other person, when. That's enough. No more comments about my body, thank you. By saying when, you're seizing back control of the narrative surrounding your own body. This phrase is your verbal stop sign, giving you the power to halt a conversation that's been veering into discomfort or even disrespect. Now, if you're not quite in the mood for a showdown, but want to escape the trap of unsolicited advice, try the art of polite deflection. You could say something like, I appreciate your concern, but I prefer to discuss other topics. Or even a cheerful, let's agree to disagree. The goal is to pivot the conversation away from your body and toward neutral ground. Deflection is like a conversational judo, using the other person's momentum to steer them away without causing a scene. And trying to be assertive is like walking a tightrope. So let's try being assertive without escalating the situation. Now, this strategy involves clearly stating your boundary without provoking any additional tension. So you could try saying something like, I'm not comfortable discussing my weight or eating habits. That lays down the law without inviting further debate. Remember, you don't owe anybody an explanation about your body, period, full stop. Now, let's not forget the aftermath. Once you've navigated the treacherous waters of unsolicited comments, it's essential to take some time for self-care. Whether it's journaling your feelings, having a heart-to-heart with a trusted friend, or simply soaking in a warm bath, self-nourishment is crucial. You need to reset and remind yourself that your worth is not determined by anyone's opinions but your own. Last but certainly not least, let's talk about some practical exercises. Try role-playing scenarios with a supportive friend, a coach, or a family member to practice these strategies in a safe environment. And if role-playing isn't really your cup of tea, visualizing exercises are also really powerful. You could just close your eyes and imagine a situation where you're about to receive some unwanted advice, and then mentally rehearse what you want to say, what strategy you want to employ. And the more you practice, the more natural these responses will become, arming you with the confidence to handle future encounters. The battleground where most of us first encounter body commentary is usually at home. While friends and family often mean well, their comments can cut the deepest. And the trick here is to establish boundaries respectfully but firmly. Start with a conversation, perhaps something like, I know you care about me, but comments about my body or what I eat make me uncomfortable. Let's focus on other ways to support each other. The key is to be clear without being confrontational. Remember, boundaries aren't walls, they're guidelines that help maintain healthier relationships. Navigating professional settings brings its own set of challenges. Office etiquette generally frowns on discussions about personal matters, yet body comments still manage to slip through the cracks. In these situations, the polite deflection strategy often works wonders. You can say, I appreciate the advice, but I've got it handled, thanks. And then swiftly steer the conversation back to work-related topics. If the comments persist, it may be time to involve HR or consult your workplace's harassment policy. Where it can be really tricky is online. See, the anonymity of online spaces seems to embolden people to dish out all kinds of unsolicited advice. Here, the block and mute functions are your very best friends. If you're feeling bold, a public reply reiterating your boundaries can serve to educate others who are reading. But remember, your page, your rules. You're under no obligation to entertain or endure harmful comments. See, when you depend less on external validation, unsolicited comments lose a lot of their sting. Additionally, knowing your non-negotiables ahead of time can empower you to set boundaries proactively rather than reactively. At the end of the day, your body is your business, and these strategies are tools to help you guard that sacred space. So equip yourself, set the boundaries, and remember, you've got this, and you are enough just as you are. Now, I can't emphasize enough how much strength there is in numbers, and I urge all of you to interact with each other, share your stories, and form your own supportive networks. Reach out to each other on social media. You could even use the hashtag #SayWhenPodcast to connect. See, the power of community can be a driving force in our individual and collective journeys towards body acceptance. Empowerment and body acceptance aren't far off ideals. They are achievable realities, and you have the right and the tools to claim them. So, there you have it, my wonderful listeners. Your go-to guide for dealing with those pesky, unsolicited body comments. Whether you choose to say when or opt for polite deflection, remember, you are in control of your own narrative. Now, we've dissected the anatomy of unsolicited body comments. We've investigated a little bit of the psychology behind them, and more importantly, equipped you with a few new things you can put in your toolbox for graceful strategies for taking back your control. Whether it's the power of saying when, deftly deflecting, standing your ground firmly yet respectfully, or nurturing yourself post-encounter, remember this: you have the right to protect your space and define your own worth. As we wrap up this episode, I want to circle back to the core tenets of my coaching philosophy: body acceptance, intuitive eating, and health at every size. All the strategies we've discussed today serve as extensions of these principles. When you say when to unwanted body comments, you're not just setting a boundary, you're affirming your inherent worth and advocating for your right to exist peacefully in your body. It aligns beautifully with the approach we take in my coaching program, How to Lose the Weight. The weight in question is the societal pressure, the waiting for approval, or for a certain body size to start living. So don't wait. Say when and start living your best life now. Now, I invite each and every one of you to put these strategies into practice. The world will keep spinning, people will keep talking, but how you react, that's where your power lies. And if you're tired of going it alone and want expert guidance tailored just for you, let's talk. Head over to my website, hollytoscanini.com, to schedule a free coaching call. Let's make your journey toward body acceptance, intuitive eating, and total empowerment a guided one. And as we part ways for now, here's a little gem to ponder. If life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Who said you have to take unsolicited lemons in the first place? Say when to those lemons and hand them right back. Life might be handing out unsolicited advice and comments like they're going out of style, but you have a brand new accessory. It's called self-respect, and trust me, it's always in style. And remember, the only person who should be defining your worth is the one staring back at you in the mirror. So, until next time, keep saying when, and remember, you are the author of your own life story, and you get to decide when a chapter ends and a new one begins. Stay fabulous, empowered, and unconditionally you. Until next time, bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Say When, the podcast for women who've had enough of diet culture and are ready to get on with their lives. If you'd like to learn more about working with me, send me a DM through Instagram at Holly Toscanini, or you can find me on my website, hollytoscanini.com. Thanks for joining me.